Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your man Royalty. We're here today, and welcome to another episode of the Raw Educated Analysis of Life podcast. Got my co-host with me, Boonie. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm all right. And we got a very, very special guest in the building. Goes by the name of That Prison Guard on YouTube. Uh, Hector Bravo on Instagram. A former lieutenant in the California Department of Corrections. If I believe it's right, 16 years, right? In the California
Yes,
Department of Corrections.
16.
It's a long time.
So quick backstory. I came across I came across one of your shorts first on
Okay.
YouTube. And I was just like, okay, like a prison guard, somebody that's formerly working in the prison guard. I haven't seen that many people that actually started YouTube channels. I've seen people that have gotten interviewed before, but not actually started their own platform. So I was
Right.
like, okay, that's different. And then so I started diving in, and then just so happens that I saw you collaborated with the YouTuber that I started following, I think in 2021, by the name of Chill 16 to Life, a guy
For
that
sure.
did 24 years straight in the California prison system. So yeah.
Long time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot imagine it.
So I want to start from the beginning. Where did you grow up, man?
I grew up in Brawley, California. So it's on the southern border of Mexico, literally probably 30 miles from the Mexico border. Uh,
Oh, snaps.
yeah.
Is that near San Diego?
Well, it's more near towards Arizona. So think about the bottom right-hand corner
Oh,
of
okay, okay.
California. Yeah,
So
nothing
that's
but
going
desert.
towards Blythe then.
Right there by Blythe, Glamis, you got the sand dunes. Um,
Oh wow.
Yeah, really, really small area, man.
So you grew up in a small town, everybody knows everybody type of
Yep.
environment.
Yeah. Everybody knows everybody. That's kind of annoying, man. And
Tell
you
me about it.
yeah, like you can't be having no secrets or anything. Everybody knows. Like you do something in one town, they pick up the phone, they call. It's like, man.
I
So
I was
I knew I
lucky.
had to leave.
I grew up in a small community, so everybody. If I had to do dirt, I would have to go away from the area because if I did, I had a nosy neighbor. She had a literal permanent bend in her blinds because she would pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the day, I did dirt, man.
So growing up, what were your parents doing?
Turns out my dad actually became a correctional officer when I was 9 years old.
Oh
So before
wow.
that, he was just a handyman, like a maintenance worker, and I remember those times too. But when he became a correctional officer, that's when we started living a little bit better.
Oh, okay. So
So
the change came in income from him
income,
working.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what was life like when he started working there? Did he like immediately compartmentalize work and home, or was it like a balance that he had?
Looking back in hindsight, man, that was a wild, wild west. You talked about Chill's channel. That was the '90s. That was the early '90s. You look at Los Angeles, how it was cracking over there. The gangs, the building of numerous prisons. You had Calipat that was built, and Centinela. That's where my dad
Yeah.
worked.
Oh, you worked at
Um,
Centinela?
yeah, that's where I worked as well. We worked together
Yeah.
for a period of time, but just think about that time frame. So my father is a guy very in tune with himself. Like he's not gonna like flip out or fly off the handle. But I was a pretty hyper kid, man. I pushed his buttons a lot, so it came out. It came out.
What kind of stuff were you into as a kid? You said you got into some trouble.
Just wild with it, man. Not like criminal activity, like stealing anything, but just like mischievous, very mischievous, man. Like firecrackers and mailboxes type of ordeals,
Oh,
that kind of stuff.
yeah, you was a little destructive.
Oh, that's fun stuff.
Along those lines.
Fun stuff you could only get away with as a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
So, when you started high school, did you have any idea that you wanted to join the military? Because I was in high school and I was in ROTC, and I know my co-host Boonie was in ROTC as well.
So the light switch went off junior year. Junior year was career day. It was one of those home economics business classes. The Marine recruiter came in looking extremely sharp in his uniform, starts talking about college, starts talking about everything is paid for, traveling, and then boom, the light bulb went off, and that's it. It was
That's
on and
dope.
cracking after that.
So you joined the Marine Corps?
Check it out, dude. I went to the Marine Corps recruiter in like that time frame, like before I became a senior in that summer. Went to the recruiter's office. Luckily, the Marine and the Army were right next to each other. And I was like, hey, I want to be a Marine. They're like, okay, take the practice ASVAB test. So I take the practice ASVAB test and I fail it. Man, I'm not proud of it. I fail it. And I'm like, damn, I'm too dumb to be a Marine. So they're like, hey, go try your luck next door in the Army, man. So I'm like, all right. I walk out of there with my head down. I go to the Army and they're like, don't trip, man. Come here. And I pass there and they're like, Army, you're good, bro. You're good over here.
So the tests are different.
Well, I didn't know anything about that, right? I don't even know why they would kick me out for a practice at. Maybe the Marine didn't want me. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they was looking
They
at you
gave
before you
up
came
fast.
in.
They
Yeah.
gave up really fast. It was like, nah, you
Well, I
ain't
was
gonna
only
cut
weighing
it.
121 pounds at that time. That's how I graduated. So
Oh
it's
wow.
pretty
What year?
skinny.
What year was this that you got recruited?
Okay, I graduated in the year 2002, but I had already been enlisted for 1 year in the delayed entry program.
Oh wow. So the time that you went in was pretty much right after the
Oh,
9/11, and so you were probably a part of the high school crowd because I saw the shift. I was in school, in high school too. You're a couple years older than me then. When 9/11 happened, I was in high school and I saw the shift in people, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to go to war." I saw a lot of people make the decision that day
right.
to go into the military. It was just
There was a
like,
lot of that.
yeah. So you definitely had to go. Where were you stationed? Iraq,
Uh,
Afghanistan?
I ended up in Iraq for 13 months, man. So they captured Saddam Hussein in the year 2003. After they invaded, they captured him. When they captured him, me and my best man, we were in Germany. We were watching it unfold on the news. We thought our war was over. We were upset, because we went in as infantry, as grunts. We wanted to fight. You're young, you're dumb, and and we thought the war was over. But we showed up on 2004, and boy, let me tell you, that was the beginning of the insurgency. That was the beginning of the guerrilla warfare.
Right, right.
Roadside bombs, car bombs.
Uh, so a quick question: when you first went to Iraq, what was your view of the Iraqi people and the conflict going on? Because a lot of times people look back and say, "Well, I knew it was bad back then." Were you just, "I'm here to do a job," or was it, "This is kind of messed
Um,
up"?
okay, since my mind was not fully developed, right? I was 18 years old, 19 years old. My mind was not fully developed. Well, what I saw from my perspective, I saw the Twin Towers go down. Boom. I knew that America had said certain people were responsible for that. Okay, so I kind of now I have a target, right? Because that's what my country says. Now somehow they brought in Saddam Hussein into the picture, saying that he had weapons of mass destruction, which he didn't. But I'm telling you my perspective that he had weapons of mass destruction and that we were there to liberate the people of Iraq from his dictatorship. So that's what I went into expecting or thinking. But when you get there, you don't see that on the ground. What you see is that those people didn't even want us there to begin with. They were cool. They were cool with us not being there. And there was no weapons of mass destruction.
I always tell people that if people want to overthrow their government, they can and they will.
Yeah, yeah.
If enough
Right.
people want to do it, they can and they will. So it was a political thing back then, but you had no reason to not believe what the government was telling you at the time.
Right.
Correct.
Because I'm not saying that Saddam was a good guy, because he
Yeah,
was not.
also that was your job to listen.
Correct. Yeah, not to ask questions, to listen.
Right.
And Saddam was not a good guy. But look what happened when they removed him.
Total chaos. Total chaos. I still laugh at the fact of that reporter throwing his shoe at Bush.
Where he misses. Yeah. But Bush
That's
was
what,
wild. Man, Bush was wild with it too. Like he was not his work didn't ever come out right. You know, he was wild with it.
I didn't think we could get a worse president than him at the time until, a couple years later. But not gonna insert my political views here.
Yeah.
But so when did you discharge from the military and how were you?
2000,
Go ahead, go ahead.
2005, man. So I got back from Iraq in March. I ETS'd in June, March, April, May, June. So 3 months because I took 1 month of terminal leave. So think about that. I came back from 13 months in combat straight home, pretty much. I was a wreck, dude.
So you had to get right back into the world.
It was wild, man. That was a dark, dark time in my life.
How was your adjustment period? Take us through some of the steps that you took to acclimate yourself back to life stateside.
Well, I did everything the wrong way, man. I self-medicated. I drank a lot of alcohol. I was drinking a fifth of vodka a night in my barracks room when I got back. I remember one time in particular, I drank 540s and 2 Mad Dogs in one sitting. That's how much like I was drinking, like on a daily basis. Like that's just the way it was for the whole entire year of 2005.
If y'all kids don't know about Mad Dog will fuck you up, bro.
Yeah. So like, and then you mix drugs into that. It was bad. And the only reason why I was doing drugs was I could stay up longer to drink more. I'm an alcoholic. By the definition, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I got 12 years of sobriety now, but back then that's what I was going through.
What drugs were you using at the time?
Dude, started off with like coke, meth, and like weed. Once I didn't really like weed because it made me paranoid, but I didn't like any of that really. I was just doing it just to do it.
Right.
What impacted you the most that made you want to self-medicate?
Honestly, it was a loss of my brother that was killed on my mom's birthday. Like that was my heaviest loss, and I always say it because it seems to be the topic that comes up in every interview. And when I lost my innocence, we were out on patrol one day, and it was my mom's birthday, September 10th, 2004. And he was our medic. So there's just so many. The fact that he was our medic, right? Medics are not supposed to get killed. Medics are supposed to bandage us up and help us. And he was blown up and killed in front of us. And the fact that it was my mom's birthday, it was just, we didn't catch the bad guy. The insurgent detonated the ID, ran and took off. It's just like we took an L all the way around. And up until that point, as a kid, I was taught, good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people. That was the day that I learned that bad things happen to good people. And it shattered me.
There's nothing that can mentally prepare you for something like that before you go in. But do you think that they had adequate mental health services in the military at that time? Or do you think they do now?
Now, yes. But you have to understand the mindset then. The whole machismo, the whole I'm not gonna say there's a problem with me. I was trying to get into law enforcement, so the last thing I want is something crazy to come up in my mental health paperwork.
Right.
When we left Iraq, there was a nurse or a psychiatrist. She asked us these questions. Did you ever see any friendly people get killed? I answered no. Did you ever kill an enemy? I answered no. Did you ever see an enemy get killed? I answered no. All these questions were actually yes, but I just answered no just to get through it and get out of there. We all did. We all did.
Didn't want to deal with it.
We just wanted out. We wanted out.
I understand that.
You would think that we've had so many military conflicts that people have come back, and especially Vietnam stands out to me. People came back and were destroying their communities, like because they didn't know how to function. So you would think that they would try to push it on you something because you saw so many horrible things out there, and then have to come back and be normal.
Yeah, man. There's like a war almost like every 10 years, it seems like, with the United States. So I'm trying to give back for the next one. You know what I mean? I'm preparing for the next one for when the young kids come back.
I see you have kids. Now, would you encourage them to go into the military, or would you feel the type of way if they decided to go that route?
Like my own personal kids?
Yes.
Well, I have a daughter. I'm not gonna sway her either which way. I'm not, and I haven't. And for the longest time, I was gonna keep my whole military side a secret, like not even talk about it or anything. But I have a friend, and she's like, "Hey, my dad was in the army, and I always wondered about his experiences. He never shared them with me." So now when she asks, I tell her, not crazy, but I just, hey, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
That's really good because a lot of people keep that stuff secretive. So you're giving her the
Yeah,
real before she goes decide if she wants to do it.
Right.
You know.
right.
So you discharge '05. Take us through the timeline of like the process before you decide that you want to go into the Department of Corrections.
So that had been already part of the goal. Like, things happen for a reason or whatnot. I wasn't able to join immediately in the corrections because there was a 2-year hiring freeze. From time to time, they would put a whole freeze on the hiring process, and I was caught right in the middle of one. So 2006, I got the letter to go take the test. I actually got in trouble, did a beer run, ended up in jail prior to that, 1 month prior to that. And had
Did
to
you think that was gonna bar you from being
Yeah,
able to do
my dad was fucking pissed, dude. Excuse my language. My dad was pissed.
you
He
can
had to go
cuss?
visit. He had to go visit me in jail. And he's like, "Hey, you got your letter from CDCR. I don't even think you can get in now with what's going on." But my background investigator let me explain, and he gave me a pass.
How long were you did you do in jail?
A week.
So do you think that prepared you because county jail is unavoidable? People, if you don't know, California jails and prisons have the politics system. So did you run with the Southsiders or did you run with the
Yeah, I did.
and uh did I think that prepared you a little bit for the politics that were in prison?
So me and my friend that got arrested, we were not in a gang at all, right? But his cousin apparently was, or because he was the shot caller of that dorm. Right? So they only had one race in that dorm. It was Mexican. They had Paisas and Southsiders in there. So as soon as we walked in, his cousin recognized him and said, "Hey, what's up, man? Come in." So they kind of welcomed us. And then we just followed that program.
Oh, you got lucky.
We got lucky. We got lucky. Well, yeah.
Because usually when you came in, I came in. I told you earlier I did county time. I came in and it was we had blacks, Southsiders, Paisas. We had Samoans, which ran with the blacks, but they kind of had their own program. We had the whites, and it was just the wild, wild west. And we couldn't program with them. You couldn't eat with them. You couldn't sit
Right.
with them. I could,
Right.
even if I saw somebody that I was my friend or the Mexican on the streets, I can't go up to him and say, "Hey, bro, here's a soup."
Correct.
I would get beat up.
Wow.
As a politics
So you said you did the beer run, you did the jail time, so you explained everything.
explained.
And what was the test like going into the
Basic, man. Basic English, basic math, basic spelling.
nothing difficult?
Nothing difficult.
What about the was the other part of another test, like another part of training, like as far as I know they do the OC in the face and stuff like
They
that.
do a giant psychological evaluation test, man. There's like 500 questions they ask you. They ask you, do you like dogs or do you like cats? I'm like, what? They ask you that question like 20 different times. Like they try to get you upset or something.
So they're testing your
Weird
patience.
test. Yeah. Other than that, you go to the academy I went to the academy in Stockton. The normal one is in Galt, but they were running two of them simultaneously because they were fast tracking, I guess. And it was a woman's prison. So we were sleeping inside of the cells. So I was single cell status. It was cell 236, I remember.
How long was that?
16 weeks. So 16 weeks, like 4 months. 2006, and then it went over to 2007.
So you said you did 16 weeks sleeping in a cell. So you
Yeah,
slept on
Stockton.
the same mats and everything they had to sleep. Did that
So they took out the you know how they have a toilet and a little sink inside of a cell? They removed those and put a wall locker so we could hang up our jumpsuits.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you had a communicable restroom that you all had to go to?
Same thing as when you had the bunk beds back in the day. Cells 250 and 150 were those toilets for everybody to use. And we
So
showered in upper B section. The same housing unit, same 270 design. We showered in upper B section and lower B section. They had a washer and dryers that you could put quarters and wash our uniforms.
and made y'all pay.
Yeah, I mean,
So after your training, did you feel like you were ready to get started? Well, you think the training was adequate enough?
um, yes and no. Yes and no. It's kind of like, hey, let's just get this over with and let's just get the real thing started.
Right. So do you remember your first day on the job?
I remember my first day. It wasn't very exciteful.
Why?
I had a very easy job. It was a clinic officer, and I was attached to a female CO that had a lot of time in. She had a lot of time in, so she pretty much just ran the whole entire show. I'm brand spanking new, all shiny, so I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do something. I'm like walking in place just to look busy. She
Did
kept
the
telling me, "Relax, relax, sit down. I got this." I just didn't want to look lazy, but
Mm.
yeah.
did the guys know that you were new? Could they tell?
Yes, everybody could tell. Yeah. New guys are easy to spot a mile away.
Did they pick at you?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember yeah, because my first assignment, my actual assignment was inside of a gymnasium. And that gymnasium only had Southsiders and Paisas in there because they had just rioted with another race and they moved the other race out. So that was never good because now all the attention's on us, on Green, on the correctional staff members, because they don't have to watch out for themselves.
Mm.
And I remember I would be doing the count following the lead. Man, they did pick on me. I remember I would be doing the count following the CO, and you can hear the inmate saying, "Are you my mama? Are you my mama?" And I look like a little lost kid, like following, and I'm not gonna get upset, but I'm just like, man, this is messed up. Like I hear what they're saying.
So how long after you started did you witness your first riot?
Like a year, fairly soon, early on. And then those riots were on and cracking, man, like boom, boom, boom. It was let me see. It was Bravo Yard. It was the blacks and the Mexicans. They went off. At that time, California was overcrowded. You
Mhm.
had bunk beds on the floor of the housing units. You had about
Notes.
40 inmates, the floor plus the ones in the cells. So the bunk beds kicked it off. Oh man, they kicked it off. Responded to that. It's crazy, they're throwing trash cans, they're throwing phones, chairs. And when we run in, I run in right in the middle. You got one side on this side, one side on this side, and I'm in the middle. So I'm like, oh, this is all bad. You don't want to be in the middle.
Were you scared?
Um, like the adrenaline was up.
So you were ready to you knew you had a job to do.
Excited, I guess you could say excited. Um, There was one ride I was scared because I got pepper sprayed in the eyes. My partner pepper sprayed me in the eyes, and my eyes shut, and I could feel the inmates fighting with my ankles. I got scared because I thought I was gonna get knocked out.
Hmm.
But
Did
that was
we
a
was he scared or something? Did he accidentally spray you
it
or
was a it was this female partner. It was another riot, but when you gotta this happens often. When they spray, they'll spray like this in a like an emotion like this, but they're not paying attention to the people that are running, your partners that are running and they spray everybody. You know what's really dumb is when you're fighting an inmate in a staff assault and your partner comes and sprays the both of you guys.
like, bro, you supposed to be on my side.
Now you're getting beat up and you're blind at the same time.
For people who haven't been incarcerated before, 'cause, like I have, like I said, I only did county time, but you could start to feel when a riot's about to crack off. Like you could just feel that tension in the air. It's nothing like it because people start grouping, you start feeling it.
Oh,
Even if like I came on a unit and I knew that it was about to crack off the day I got on there, and I just felt it, and I was just like, oh shit, I don't have a choice. Like, how was that for y'all? Could y'all feel that tension? People like it's about to crack off.
so the OG officers would give us heads up, like, "Hey, man, eventually you'll be able to learn how to feel it. You could feel the air." And I was brand new. I was like, "Man, I don't know how. I want to know how to feel it. I don't know the difference between this or difference between that because I hadn't really experienced that." And you do get to a point. People ask me that question. when riots kick off, there's signs that it's going to kick off, and it can kick off numerous ways. One of them, when you feel that tension, oh man, you feel that tension. But it usually starts off with something, like maybe somebody got shorted on money for dope. Maybe somebody stole something from another race. Maybe somebody disrespected somebody from another race. So it kind of usually starts like that, and then it just boom, 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 just carries over, and
I
then it
know,
explodes.
I know you have the representatives from both sides that try to squash it before it could
They
get something
try.
big, but sometimes it's nothing. Especially once somebody else starts swinging on somebody else, then it's nothing.
You know, they do do a good job of squashing it. Like I can't say like 50% and 50-50, but let me tell you, in the meantime, everybody's making weapons, everybody's lacing their boots, everybody's stocking up canteen, like they're for the war.
Mm.
Do you remember the first time you found a weapon?
Yeah, my sergeant okey doked me. Man, my sergeant said, look under that toilet over there. I looked under. Now they found the weapon. Like, good. Now write the report.
So he knew that it was there. He just didn't want to do the report.
Correct.
How much of the job would you say is paperwork?
Oh, man. Now, well, I promoted to lieutenant. That was all paperwork. As an officer, probably like 60%, 70%.
Did you guys ever have those? Because I saw recently, Boonie has sent me this video of what is that called? The chair where they strap you down.
We do not have that. County jail has that. I'll tell you what, man, I would not have minded having that. We dealt with some like psychotic, dangerous, violent. I mean, this was bad, real bad, man. Individuals, superhuman strength.
They have nothing but time to train.
Right.
Yeah, man, and like, and big guys. My partner is having a hard time restraining these guys, these individuals.
Do you remember your most stressful experience with dealing with inmates?
Most stressful experience when I was younger and take things personal, like, maybe somebody got at me sideways and I didn't act on it then. I felt kind of like a bitch, like, oh man, I'll go home and dwell on it and be like stewing on it. And then people tell me like, hey, relax, man, relax. It's all business. Leave it at the gate. It's all business. Took a while for that wheel to spin.
So you think there's a specific personality like you have to be a prison guard?
I do. I honestly believe that job is not for everybody because I've come across people and worked for people that have gotten people hurt and killed on both
Mm.
sides because of their incompetence.
Mhm.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So you just can't be a dummy in there. It's going to cost people their lives.
Did you ever get called out by any of the inmates for like a one-on-one fight?
Yeah, man. Level 4, Charlie Yard, Centinela. So that gym that I was on, that yard I was on back in 2007, it was a level 3 yard, but they flipped it over to level 4. They converted it to level 4. They put the gate down the middle of the yard with the concertina wire.
For the people that don't know, can you break down the levels and what they mean?
Yeah, so like a level 1 inmate in California, there's 4 levels. Level 1s are the guys that you back in the day you used to see them at the park or on the side of the road, like the trustees. That's level 1s. Level 2s are a little bit more secured. We have a level 2 at Donovan with when I used to work there. There's a razor wire electrified fence. No gun observation. Level 3, there is gun observation on the yard, inside the buildings, but not in the chow hall. On a level 4, there's gun observations everywhere. There's gunners in the chow hall, there's gunners in the building, and there's just wires and fence everywhere. That's the max security. So
Oh,
these, by the point systems, I guess you can say that I actually prefer to work more with the level 4s because they don't bullshit. If it's gonna crack off, it's gonna crack off. They're not gonna play games. I didn't like the little games that the level 3s would play. But yeah, there was a dude on the phone, and I wasn't ever I wasn't a by the book type of guy, but if I was new somewhere, I would try to establish myself or establish my presence. And I mean, that's the way they kind of taught us at the academy. And the guy was on the phone and he wasn't signed up to be on the phone. There's a list. And they do that because they're monitoring the ISU, the investigative squad service unit. They're listening to the phone calls in case they're talking about dope, in case they're talking about putting a hit on somebody. That's why. So out of respect, I tell the guy, hey man, it's not your phone time. Like get off the phone, right? As opposed to like just cut off the phone. That would have been very disrespectful because we can hit the button up at the top.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
hey, you got like 30 seconds. You got a minute. Get off the phone. That dude blew me off. The Mexican dude too, level 4, blew me off. So I tell the control booth officer, hey, cut it off. After some time had elapsed, you know, I gave him time to say goodbye to whoever he was talking to. He didn't use it wisely. And he got off the phone. He's like, hey, you bitch, you fucking bitch. Man, I look around, right? Because I have to pay attention to everything that's happening. I know that this is a level 4, right? I know that yard recall is about to happen. They were about to open that back door to let all the inmates in. Okay, so now I'm about to have a lot of Mexicans in here. And I don't know if you know, of course, you know, if one goes, everybody goes.
Yep.
That's
No
the
choice.
rule.
No
That's
choice.
the rule. One goes, everybody knows. So I'm paying attention to all this, right? So I'm like, oh man, dude just called me a bitch in front of everybody, right? But he goes up the stairs into his cell, up in like cell 203, 204. Inmate, man, I was about to say his name, but I won't. I don't say names. So there was a
Right.
porter right here, and I told him, hey man, lock it up. And he's like, hey dude, I recommend you don't do that. You got a short temper. He has a short temper. It's gonna end all bad. And I'm like, hey, lock it up. All right, he locks it up. Everybody came in from the yard. They didn't realize what had happened inside earlier, so everybody locked it up. I tell the control booth officer, when everybody locks it up, pop that cell out by himself, right? So
Oh.
my friend, I was working with a female officer who I went to the academy with. She's an older lady. You know, she wasn't going to do nothing anyways. The control booth officer, he was on overtime. And then my friend walks in through the door with the mail bags. He was going around delivering the mail bags to the unit. I said, oh, bro, you're just in time. He's like, what's up? And I went to the academy with him. I was like, check this out. But I said, but don't jump in. Right. So I told everybody, don't jump in and don't hit your alarm. Shouldn't have even been doing this. Right. You could get in trouble back then. And you definitely can't be doing it now. But this is how it played out. So he's like, all right. He's like, all right. So I took off my belt, put it on the podium, popped the cell, and the dude opened the cell. Because those doors, you just hit the button and it pops. You
Right.
can open and close it from the control booth. So he has that. He could open it. So he looked at me, kind of playing dumb. And I'm like, hey, get down here. Comes down. And I took like a bladed stance, right? You got all the inmates looking in the window. And I'm like, hey, did you call me a bitch? And I'll be honest with you, I really didn't know how to fight. So whichever which way it would have went, it would have went. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest with you. Don't think like I'm some type of tough guy, but I just was not gonna allow that to happen. You know,
Right.
definitely not gonna allow that to happen. So I'm like, hey, what's up? You called me a bitch, and he's like, nah, CO, I don't get down like that. I don't disrespect COs like that. And I was like, he looked at my partner and said, hey, don't worry, they're not gonna hit their alarm. And he's like, why didn't you hit me up earlier? Because he knew what I was. And I said, look around, man. It's just me and you. They're not going to jump in. And he goes, nah, I don't get down like that, CO. I don't disrespect COs like that. He's like, this is what he said. I was talking to my sister on the phone. She said she didn't want to come visit me. So I was calling her a bitch on the phone. I'm like, oh, man. I said, just like, take it back. So he took it back to the house. And then my female partner, she's like, oh, my God, I thought you were going to fight him. But that happened on 2 or 3 separate occasions, right? Don't advise anybody to do that at all. Because like I tell people, had that gone sideways,
Yeah.
I couldn't. How would I have explained that one?
No way you could have explained that one. You just got down with an
So
inmate.
Yeah, but they say back in the day it was happening all the time.
Oh yeah, I heard some stories. I
Right.
was locked up with some OGs that they told me that some guards would literally step out one on one and they whip somebody's ass.
Yeah.
Some of them had like MMA training, so they would get
So
down with them.
I would eventually look that guy up, his file, when I became a sergeant, because I wanted to know who was he or what. And yeah, he was a somebody. He was a somebody. So he probably didn't want to bring heat to the block or bring heat to the. It was strategy. You know what I mean? He didn't. Not that he was afraid of me.
Did you notice that there was a difference between the way that the Mexican inmates and the black inmates and the white inmates treated you? Were you more like, did they talk to you differently? Was there a difference between the way that they dealt with the COs?
So it's kind of funny you say that, man, because I came on the YouTube scene and people had their own perceptions or opinions on me or this and that because of my race, because I am Mexican. I'm 100% Mexican. But in there, like the Mexicans cannot go and talk to you by themselves. They got to take a shadow with them. So they got to take a second person to be there and like, hey, CO, I need toilet paper or I need this, just to make sure that they're not rat. Right. So I rarely spoke to the Mexicans, rarely spoke to them. They were back in 2006, and I'm not claiming to be an OG. Man, there was that tension. You could feel that tension in the air between everybody. So when it came to the blacks, yeah, I could converse with them because they didn't have that rule. At least it didn't seem like they had that rule, and we can talk and chop it up. But the overall, it was a fair consensus across the board, right? And that's what they teach you at the academy, and that's what it was. It was like whatever opportunity arose, right? Because you're not going to be there like trying to make friends or converse in a friendly manner. It's just professionalism, but like cool, keeping it cool. You have to keep it.
Right, right. One thing I remember witnessing when I was in county was this is kind of corruption, but at the same time, I don't know if I would have did something different. Was the guards would literally send people in units that they knew would get rolled out, chomos on purpose. And so we had a chomo come on, and I saw I was in a unit where it was a bubble, so the air they could see, all the way around. And so in my unit, they put the chomo in there. We got the kite that the chomo got on the unit, and so that we had to do everything. And I was 18 years old at the time. This is '05. So who's the torpedo? Me. So I'm good. Supposed to. If you don't know, the torpedo is the one that's gonna
Right.
back it off. So it was somebody from every race. That's the only time I've ever seen races unite. If there's a chomo, a child molester on the yard. So he comes in, and then I see the guard in the booth turn around. Like,
Yeah.
did you ever witness things like that where it was like very unprofessional, where they let things happen that shouldn't have happened?
Not to that. Not like you. Not putting a child molester on the yard that's not supposed to be on the yard because that is how you say there's so many layers to that. The classification, they got to get classified. They got to, they're going to be endorsed to a sensitive needs yard, not a general population yard. But did we know that dudes had an ass whooping coming and that they were going to get an ass whooping and the ass whooping happened? Yes. Yeah. I'll give you an idea. Uh, I was new, right, in a minimum yard.
Mhm.
Minimum is level ones. We talked about level ones, like dorms. I was third watch, right? I was third watch the majority of my career, which is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift, so right in that evening time. Second watch, they have a little thing called the lift program, leave it for third. So anything happened, they would leave it for third. I hated that lift program, but apparently there was a outsider that was caught with tobacco by the sergeant on the minimum yard, got disrespectful, mousy, and just I don't know, it kind of blew out of control. So as I'm cutting on shift, they let me know, hey, this is what happened. It was kind of weird how they let me know. They're like, this is what happened. This is what is going to happen. And I'm like, okay. So around the evening meal time, there's a chow hall that the inmates walk out to go get their dinner. two Southerners came up to me and said, "Hey, we're gonna need 3 lay-in trays here in the dorm." I'm like, okay, like, because it's like they had already my people had already given me word that something was gonna happen. They're telling me they need 3 lay-in trays. So I went to Chow. They got their 3 trays. When I came back, yeah, one of the dudes was wearing a beanie, and his beanie was out to here. Like, that was the same one that disrespected the sergeant. But
Damn.
Mm.
I mean, they ate.
Throughout your time there, did you ever see people that you felt didn't deserve to be there? And did your view of the system change? Like, because I feel like naming the Department of corrections is very inaccurate because it's not correcting anything. Uh, in fact, it's solidifying that behavior even worse inside of that environment.
My view has changed since I've been out. I've been out for 5 months now. I resigned from the job. I walked away, clean slate, walked out the front door, right, on my own terms. And when you're a staff member, you're not in there, and it's probably by design. Of course, it's by design. You're not in there to see who's in or who's not. Right? That's not the job of that's not the role. That's not the role of a correctional staff member, is to make sure that they don't jump over the fence, they don't kill each other, and they don't kill us. Period. Point blank. Yeah, they got us doing a bunch of other stuff, but in reality, that's what it boils down to. As I grew older in my career and up the ranks, I was having conversations with these individuals, and I noticed some of them I knew from Centinela, that I saw the change in their pattern, in their behavior for the better. Right?
Mm.
I knew them when they were the torpedoes. I knew them when they were in the riots. I've seen them. I was there. I was using force on them back then. And then we kind of just grow older. And that was kind of like, I was noticing that, like, but at the same time, you know how California is wild with it, with all the new laws. People were getting let out of prison that should not be getting let out of prison, like child molesters, like serial child molesters. And then I'm looking at these like OGs or youngsters that I knew changed their life for the better, and they're stuck. I'm like, who is coming up with these law? Who is deciding? Because it's backwards. And it wasn't sitting with me well for a while.
That had to
I mean,
be.
look at right now, the Menendez brothers, man. I got the news blowing me up about the Menendez brothers. I could care less about those 2 guys. To me, they're just normal inmates. But like I said, I know other individuals that have actually changed their lives. And if you're gonna be letting people out, let those dudes out.
There's a lot of them, and you can tell because there's some people that said they get institutionalized, and some people that change. And one of your videos, I saw one of the big things that you saw was respect that people have on there, and people have the idea that people get out of prison and they're just wild or whatever. They just institutionalized. A lot of times you'll hear these people, the only reason they'll fight is because of some form of disrespect. You know, you just brush past them in the world, don't say excuse me, you reach over their food, small stuff like that. So I do know that people can really make a change in their life, and you could tell that they don't want to go back. So they like people like Chill, people like Banky Pound on YouTube who look, I'm not going back, and you see them make that because they could do that. Because you look at a guy like Chill, he's 40, 48, 49, he could still whip some ass. Like,
Correct. But that
he,
goes to the whole thing that I was pushing when I came out, the warrior and the garden mentality, meaning that we're all warriors. We have that mindset. We're about the business, but hey, we're peaceful now. We're calm. We want to push the peace. We want to push a positive message. That's the whole warriors in the garden mentality that I like to talk about. Yeah, just because you're peaceful doesn't mean that you're any less violent. Let me tell you that much right now. We know that.
yeah,
We know
those,
that.
those
But
those OGs are the ones you don't want to mess with the most.
correct. But like, yeah, man. And those guys are doing good. They're doing it. They're doing it. And I think it says a lot for somebody like me to come from the other side to speak up on behalf of those individuals. Like, hey, if I don't do it, who else will? Um,
Right.
the
Right.
fight, the fight that I see The fight that I see needs to be up at the top, man. Administration and with the government, not just sound like a conspiracy theorist, but what I see I got to see how high the corruption went with my own 2 eyes.
That's what I wanted to dive into next is the corruption part of it. So you said you came in, started off as a regular CEO, and then you started promoted through the ranks. As you promoted through the ranks, is this when you started to see the corruption and the bureaucracy and everything?
I was an officer for 8 years. So that's a pretty good time. 8 years. Now they be promoting after 2 years and thinking that they know it all. But when I was a sergeant, I was still, keep it real with you, I was still in the trenches, man. I was still a heavy hitter, so to say. I'll never go tooting my own horn or but I was still with it, man. I was still with it right there, leading the troops and in the mix. When I promoted to lieutenant, that's when the game changed for me. That's when I seen the administrative side of things. And then I'm like, hey, man, you guys are doing this. You guys are causing
Right.
this. And it wasn't just that. Every time I would speak, hey, don't do that. This is why you shouldn't do that. It's like, hey, you better shut up because we're going to write you up for insubordination. I went under investigation for insubordination 3 times
Just because you spoke
because
up?
I tried speaking up. I mean, of course, it was found because I'm not a dummy, bro. I know how to document and I know policy. So it turned out to be unprofessionalism. They didn't like the way I got at them.
What
But
what were some of those things that you saw from the higher ups that led to you wanting to leave? Like, what was the
okay,
process of things that led to that?
okay. It got turned up in 2019, like when I became a lieutenant, bro. I became a lieutenant in 2017.
Mhm.
So 2018, 2019, 2020, it got crazy, dude, especially with the COVID. Are you aware when they mix the general population and the sensitive needs
Yeah,
inmates
yeah,
together?
yeah.
So we were like ground zero for that, man. We were like the guinea pigs for that. This is what was happening. You have ADSEG, you have the whole inmates are locked up in there. Let's say you have an SNY inmate in ADSEG. They got to go to committee. They got to be seen by the warden, by the chief deputy warden. And then they say, hey, you're now endorsed to go to AR. Well, AR is the general population. The inmate will be in committee and say, I'm not going to AR. I'm SNY. Well, the warden will say, pick this guy up and drag him to AR. It's like, what? We don't pick people up and drag people anymore. That stopped in the 90s. Like, I know that. I know policy. So the inmate would fight, we would dump them, and then everybody would go under investigation and get in trouble. And then the warden would just clean his hands and say, like, oh, I don't know why those cops did that.
What was the purpose of that?
So
Forcing
the purpose of that, you have to understand how these yes men work. So if you're a warden, right, at a prison and you're acting, you want to get confirmed. Your boss up in Sacramento is telling you, hey, your numbers in ADSEG are too high. You have too many inmates in ADSEG. I want you to get them out of here. Oh, by the way, I want you to start mixing these GPs and SNYs. This is how it looked. The warden says, drag this guy and drag him to A yard. I'm a lieutenant. I've been around the block. I'm like, the fuck? Nah, we don't fucking do that. What actually happened was on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I remember it was like 2019. It happened to me. I was a lieutenant in ADSEG, and that same bullshit happened. I'm like, I got a plan. I heard the inmate yelling, no, no, no. They dumped him. Boom. They carried him. The officers were scared. They're like, hey, LT, Lieutenant, we're going to get in trouble. We're going to get fired. I said, nah, don't trip. I got you guys. Right? Because my hamster's good, man. When my hamster works, it works. So on the reports, you can ask clarification questions as a lieutenant. And I asked one of the dudes, were you in the office when you got the order to escort inmate Rodriguez to Alpha Yard? He answered back, yes. Who gave that order? Well, the warden Covello. Boom, got him. So what I did is I put their name on paper. Ooh, they hated that. Think about what I just did. I caught them. So, of course, that incident cleared. Imagine that. Everyone else was going under investigation, but I put their name on it. That's corruption.
So they were doing that to make the lower people take the fall for their decision. So it
Oh.
backfired, so it's your fault.
But I cornered them. They cleared it, and they still wrote me up. They wrote me up. They wrote me up on a technicality that wasn't even the truth. It was so dumb. Trust me, it was so dumb. And it's like they said I didn't turn in my paperwork like within the 5-day period, but I did because it was Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I turned it in. They came to work on Monday, and it was in their box, and that's why they wrote me up. But I didn't care about that write-up. I didn't care about any of their write-ups. Ridiculous. So that was one. That was the beginning. That was the beginning. Then the SNYs and the GPs on the minimum at Donovan. I was part of the crisis response team, the SWAT team for the prison. We have all kinds of weapons and goodies and grenades and stuff. We were waiting, prepared in the visiting room. Like, why would we prepare? You know what I mean? Like, that's a setup. There was 10 GP inmates here, 10 GP inmates here. We were going to walk them into the lion's den. 2 dorms, 1 dorm over here, 1 dorm over here. Yeah, they kicked off. Code 3. Boom. Code 3. I start shooting. Like I said, I'm in the trenches, man. I'm doing the dirty work. I'm doing the big. You know what I mean? That's not cool. I don't feel like that's cool. I shoot dude in the leg like 4 times. Bah, bah, bah. We zip tie. We put him out to the basketball courts. I think it's done, right? I've been in numerous riots. I know when it's done. We overhear another lieutenant or captain say, check this out. We're going to cut off your zip ties. We're going to bring you in, and we're going to keep doing this all night long until you guys get tired.
Why?
Me and my friend are like, what the fuck did he just say? And I was like, I don't know. This is fucking stupid.
Was this
They did it like
a
twice.
new warden? Did he not know the structure and how things work there?
That was coming from Sacramento. What I'm telling you is that it's coming from the top.
So
It's coming
somebody
from the
that's
top.
never worked inside of a prison, that doesn't know how much the structure really means, like the day-to-day
It's
lives
an
for these people.
agenda. It's an agenda. I don't think they care about the structure or no structure. I'm telling you, man, if you got like the governor, whoever it is telling the top of corrections, do this, I want you to start carrying this out. They're going to just start carrying it out. And I saw that.
Gavin Newsom's the governor now. He's been the governor for a while. So coming down from Gavin Newsom, everybody wants to praise him, but you have these people in your ear, because honestly, I don't think he's probably making the decision himself. He has people in his ear telling him,
above
him, to tell him, hey, you do this, you do, not understanding the impact it's going to have on these people's lives. People getting hurt.
Yeah.
Inmates and guards alike, I'm sure, right?
So you guys asked, yeah, inmates and guards. Like I'm a fair dude, man. Like I said, I was shooting that inmate in the leg. Like I that's like shooting fish in a barrel. How can I be proud or say, hey, I did that? That's not cool, man. And it was nothing personal. I chopped it up with that dude later, kind of laughing together, thinking together. It is water under the bridge, but the whole scenario, man, you asked me about Iraq and my perception was going into there. I got fooled. You asked me about the Department of Corrections. I was playing their stupid little game. I'm a man, bro. I got a 4-year-old daughter. My 4-year-old daughter is what changed the game for me.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at her. I said, nah, man, I can't be. Her dad ain't going to be like that. Like, and I'm not the only one that feels this way. Trust me, man. A lot of the partners, the majority, they're just stuck because of the money, because that's their way of life. That's how they provide. I'm a wild man, so I bailed. I just jumped.
Looking back, was there anything that you would do differently?
No, no, because everything that's ever has happened to me has made me who I am today, has brought me to this point. Everything that I've ever gained and everything that I've ever lost has brought me to this point.
Being on the other side now, you're a prison, former guard YouTuber now. What's your message? What do you want to convey to the people?
I want to convey simple message is that be a good person. Be a good person in life. Give back. Don't be selfish, be selfless. that message in itself can go for any occupation, any walk of life. If you're gangbanging on the street, right? Even if you're a prison guard, right? Even if you work at a bank, like, hey, just be a good person. Trust me, because I've done bad. I've done bad a lot, and that got me bad results. Right? I now do good, and things are fairly working out for me, man. Not bad. So the message I like to help people through my own experiences.
That is an awesome thing. One more thing I do want to dive into before we get out of here is the whole. I just lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second. the It was something that I saw on there. Oh, you had did a video about the transgender people in prison and how they were getting preferential treatment and getting sex changes done while they're in prison. What are your thoughts about that?
Again, that's coming from like the top, and that I was at Donovan. That was like, again, the ground zero for that. We have that training. We have like 4-hour training, 8-hour training. Hey, you must refer to them with whatever they identify as. And it's like, okay, cool. You're gonna pay us $100,000 a year. I'll do whatever you tell me, right? But they do come out to get the sex realignment surgery on taxpayer dollars. That's a fact. They'll send them to Beverly Hills to the best surgeons. But the problem with that is, just like any other program that CDCR offers, some inmates will manipulate the system and take advantage and maximize, expose it.
I'm all for transgender rights. I'm very much so. But at the same time, if you're convicted of a crime, at that point, you kind of lost the ability to go do something like that. You can do that when you're out on the streets. You can do something like that, but the fact that us as a taxpayer has to pay for your decision like that, that's a privilege in a way, for in my opinion. That's a privilege
So,
that you get to go do that, because a lot of people, there's some people on these streets that are transgender who felt that way their whole lives, who can't
right.
afford that because there's no programs outside to pay for that.
Oh man, they be getting those those shots, hormone shots. They be getting all that stuff, man. They be getting it all, like whatever comes with. But even the topic of rape, that's a serious topic, and rape is it should be a serious issue in prison. But I've come across so many domestic disputes inside of prison where they break up with each other and one claims rape. We have to go through the whole process, the whole paperwork. We have to send them out to get the SART examinations. It costs money, time, and resources. They come back and like, oh yeah, he really didn't rape me. We just got mad at each other. But we have to go through the motions.
So not only are you wasting time, wasting money, but you got this other person who's the real victim because he got accused of doing something that he didn't do. Like,
That's crazy.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that stuff going on too, man. It's just wild in there. And right now, CDCR is a wild place right now, man. I'm the only one that can speak on it though. Like
is
nobody
is
else can.
is there any limits to what you'll say now that you're on the other side? Or is there like certain things that you'll keep other than names and stuff like that? With
I think just names. I think just names. That's because I don't want to get myself caught up in a wreck. But other than that, I'm pretty open, man. Like I think I'm pretty open. There's nothing in there that was like a dire secret or anything like that.
Well, before we get out of here, last thing, man, I like to give the floor to the guests that we have on. So anything that you want to plug, anything that you want to say to the people out there, and anything, the floor is yours.
Cool. Nah, thank you for having me on here, guys. Like, I enjoyed chopping it up with you guys. Like, yeah, this is cool. This is what I do now, just talk and meet new people and just expanding this network. This is how I foresee the message getting bigger, through us. But yeah, I'm on YouTube, that prison guard, and you guys can go over there, subscribe, right? And all this networking collabing is what's making it happen. Thank
I'll
you guys.
I'll definitely have his information down in the description. Go check out his videos. They're they're really dope and informative.
Mhm.
That's the most important part. They're
Yeah, I
informative.
learned a lot.
Cool, cool. I appreciate it, guys.
And
Yeah,
I would love to have you back on soon.
for sure.
I want to do a topic about prison reform. So I will definitely be in contact with you when we do that topic.
Sweet.
But thank you for coming on, and thank everybody for watching. Of course, drop a like on if you're listening to this on YouTube, share. Also, if you're listening to this on Amazon Music or Spotify, give us a thumbs up so we can climb up in the ranks, trying to make a little bit of money on maybe just
I got you, man. I'll give you a shout out on my channel.
all right. I love each and every one of y'all, and it's been real. Peace.
Bye.
Yeah.